Trump administration's response. Arash Aramesh is a San Francisco attorney. Harmeet and Dhillon, an RNC committee woman for California. Great to see you both tonight.
Happy to be here, Shannon.
Good to be with you.
All right, I want to start by playing something from your senior senator there, Dianne Feinstein, when she was asked about this issue, this underlying issue of DACA. So let's start there.
The point is DACA is here, and we've got 800,000 young people.
Well, your answer indicates, though, that it's on shaky legal ground.
It is. That's why we need to pass a law, and we should do it.
All right, Senator Feinstein says it's on shaky legal ground. There have been many, many disputes and conversations and fights about whether or not President Obama even had the authority to do this. Harmeet, what say you?
Yes, I agree with Senator Feinstein that it's on shaky legal ground. And the point there is that President Obama issued an executive order after he repeatedly failed to get this relief from Congress. And so that's why it's on shaky ground. And that's the exact reason that the president revoked it and then offered a deadline 6 months later for Congress to come to him with the deal. And in the interim, the president offered a very generous offer, not just DACA relief for the 800,000, but also DACA relief for another 1 million people, plus a 10 to 12-year path to citizenship in exchange for $25 billion of funding for the wall. It's the Democrats who walked away from the table. It's Congress that refused to compromise and reach a deal. So that's why we have this problem. And it's a shame for those young people who came here without doing anything wrong themselves, that Democrats want them as a campaign issue and a campaign football rather than solving the problem for them.
I mean, Ari, is that a fair way to describe this going into the fall? Because there were numerous proposals that none of them in the Senate could get to 60 votes with Republicans or Democrats. I mean, nobody got it done.
It is true that DACA has been on shaky grounds. That's why President Obama, being a statesman, he came out with an executive order and decided to make sure that those children who grew up here are Americans culturally, linguistically, you name it. Some of whom have served in the military, some of whom go to some of the best colleges in this country. Their crime rate is some of the lowest compared to any other ethnic socioeconomic group in this country, that they would stay here and they would be treated as Americans in their own home country, and they don't know any other country but here. Now,
but
President Trump, allow me. No.
If
you're not going to interrupt her, you're not going to interrupt me.
Well,
so
no,
let me
you
just
need to
finish
answer
the point.
question that I asked
well,
you.
I'm answering the question,
who is to blame for this?
Absolutely, it's President Trump. You have a Republican House and a Republican Senate, and you have the president, and he's complaining and nagging every day that's Democrats' fault. At some point, Republicans got to realize they're really bad at governing, and they can't even get things done amongst themselves. Once they realize that, then they will realize that one thing, it's bad to politicize the lives of millions of DACA eligible sort of DACA people in this country just to make a political point to some of the worst fringes of Trump's base.
So, Harmeet, what do you do with that argument, the fact that Republicans have the White House and control both houses? Now, they don't have 60 in the Senate, and there's still a legislative filibuster there, but this didn't get done.
Yeah, I would agree with the fact that some finger pointing and some blame is appropriate for the Republicans in Congress. They've let us down. But as you pointed out, they don't have 60 in the Senate, and that's really been one of the roadblocks. And Democrats have repeatedly played loosey with the football with the president. They've said they would sign a deal where they gave him funding and they got relief for DACA, and then they refused. So that is really where the blame lies. And that deal can still be had. That deal can still be had, except for now both parties, legislators are running for office and their midterms are coming up. And so this is one of the hottest issues in politics. And I'm afraid that political will isn't there to do a deal right now, which is a real shame for these kids. They did have the opportunity last year.
Yeah, and quickly, Ari, what do you say to that? Because it's April and the average American out there hears that Congress isn't going to get anything substantive done the rest of this year. And the rest of us have to show up for work.
Right. Now, and Shannon, those are good points. And it's April. It's too late. It's almost tax season. Tax season is almost over. But it's not true that the Democrats offered the money and walked away. It's not true. Democrats actually were willing, despite the fact that we're taking a lot of heat from their own base, to actually go along with a bad idea, which is the wall. But they were willing to compromise. And it's the president who one day decides something, and the next day, depends on to whom he's listening. Most likely Steve Miller here. He changes his mind. It's been bad. Unfortunately, I got to say this president has been sort of wobbling on this idea and this issue and not trying to link DACA to this caravan of immigrants coming from Honduras. It's just shameless. And the president lies shamelessly. And that's bad. That's bad policy-wise. And it's eventually going to haunt him politically.
Well, he has talked a lot about being soft on the DACA kids and wanting to find a solution, which has given him fire from the right as well. There weren't enough Democrats or Republicans or a combination of them to get anything done. So this continues. Ari and Harmeet, thank you both very much.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
All right, President Trump meeting with his new top economic advisor tonight, Larry